First, please, no photos or videos. Something like this could leak out onto the internet.
That's a trailer. That is an amazing trailer. I'm sure the movie is as amazing. Congratulations, you guys. Congratulations on this film. Aang, 3D has been a massive aspect of cinema for the past 15 years, and I've always personally felt when 3D started happening, I want to see a drama. I want to see the greatest part of movies, the human face, in 3D. Was that the catalyst? Was that the reason that you sort of shot this in 3D and at 120 frames per second?
Yeah, when there's a new technology, action pick up first because it's expensive and inconvenient. And you want to show off the technology. And then spectacles pick up. And then thriller pick up. And then porno. Sort of in that order because they don't care. They just want to dazzle the audience. Only when it's mature and easy and cheap, much cheaper, the artists will pick up. But in doing Life of Pi, this is my first experience both in digital cinema and 3D. First of all, I wouldn't do too much because I know it's not quite sufficient. We just started. 24 frames is not really sufficient, the brightness and all that, and simply the knowledge for 3D. But I certainly noticed one thing. What is most amazing for us human beings to study, to read into, is human faces. Drama. So I think 3D is closest to our eyes. I want to see those faces up close and in great detail and see through them. And these wonderful actors have so much to offer to us, and we have so much to share. I think it's a different level of engaging into the story and a different level of connecting with actors and us human beings.
What did that mean for you guys as actors on the set when you were doing these scenes? Did it change your performances? Did it make you more aware or conscious of the camera and not necessarily how you would look, but how your performance would be interpreted?
Well, I had no reference of making a film before, so I could tell it was unusual just because of the technology and the size of the cameras and the way that scenes had to be played out. But I was coming into it cold, having never been on a set before, and so I think probably for people who had done a lot more, it was maybe weirder a little.
Well, we did the screen tests. My first step onto this was 2 weeks before I actually started shooting, or maybe it was more. It was a
test.
Yeah, it was a test, and he was standing there going like, "So is this normal? Is this like tell me everything?" Even while we were shooting, he'd like ask me questions, and like typically I'm not the type of actor to be like, I don't know where the camera is, I'm just losing myself in it, I'm gonna put headphones in and zone out and just like do my thing. I really want to know like how things are being seen, and I fucking love process. Like I'm really into it. I'm like constantly annoyingly curious, and I was like, dude, I have absolutely no idea what the hell that thing is. It was like, that's a strange looking camera. I also had no reference, which speaks to how different this thing is because I've been doing this a lot. Yeah, but I'm super obsessed with like how movies are made. And in this case, I was complete fish out of water. We all look down the barrel of the lens quite often when we're addressing his character. It's a super immersive first-person experience. So even to do that, you're kind of like filling in blanks of somebody else's performance. It's like you almost have to like project what you think he might be doing. You just sort of use voice and like use like how you hold him and know him yourself, but like it's like a huge responsibility to fill in someone's performance and try and be genuinely and truly affected by it rather than trying to like make something up.
So quite often the camera's operating as Billy's point of view, and you guys are sort of looking down the barrel of a 3D 120 frames per second fully immersive gun. What was that like?
This is the first time I'm hearing that. So
Wait, you didn't have to do that?
I mean, the only other, I think I did, I'm joking. Only other 3D movie I've done was Home. I was animated. So I didn't, I didn't have any experience. But when you do a normal movie, you have the camera somewhere, like over there, and it's a box like that. Here, it's an elephant over your shoulder, and this elephant is looking at you. And of course, when we first started taping, I would be doing a scene with Joe, and I would go, "Now, Joe," and Aang would go, "Cut." And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's 3D, right? I mean, this is what you're going for, right? Joe." And then I'd say, catch this, and he'd miss it, and it caught. And anyway, I had to learn my lesson doing 3D. But this was a drama, so.
Chris, what about you? You're a stand-up, you're a showman. Were you trying to play up to the 3D initially as well?
Yeah, it was hard because I'm used to feedback from the actors. I really rely a lot on that, in the moment. So it was hard, but I thought it was amazing. And because I peek around the curtain and look at a lot of the footage, and I was like, wow, it was beautiful. Technology is innovative, and it just Aang's just amazing. So it was great.
Aang, how confident were you that this would work? Because no one's done it yet, and you're shooting point-of-view shots a lot of the time from the sounds of it. On set, were you confident that it was working, that this was going to work, or did it feel like an experiment the whole time?
I'll act like I have confidence.
You do?
So they don't freak out. I just act like I know what I'm doing. Well, I spent a year sort of pondering about try to make a decision whether I go 62K or 120 4K. We always associate movie with flicks, with the 180 shadow and a spinal kind of projection.
Dude, you associate movies with flicks. Not everyone sees that. No, not everyone sees those little.
You watch it without knowing.
Stream audiences like, this has no flicks. What's going on here?
Half of the time you're watching blacks, basically. That's how a movie works. But once you lift it, it seems more clear. But that small blackness, still comforting. You're seeing a movie zone where you're still watching somebody else's business. So once you're past 60, it becomes your own business. So the attitude about watching movie, the relationship between audience and what's on the screen, it start to change and the chemistry start to change. That's the scary part. I don't know how to make that movie, and I have to act like I do. So I've been diligent in doing my work research, but it's unknown territory because there's no feedback yet. There's no reference. As he making his first movie, there's no reference. So, but I think that's a test on my character. When I know 60 is just improving 3D, when you're past that, you're into unknown territory, and I just couldn't help go into the leap of faith, so to speak. And I give somewhat of a pitch, like a 20% pitch to them, and they're into it. I have to say these are very courageous actors I really admire. Well, they've been funny here, but they've been great. Say, okay, we'll do it. See what it looks like.
Now, the technology is extremely impressive and innovative and new, but what was it about Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk, the story, that made you know this story would sort of collaborate well with this technology?
Well, I think eventually when we get used to it, which I think we will someday, you can do anything. You can do romantic comedy, you can do musical with it. But right now, realism and hyper-realism is what it looks like compared to the flat 24 frames per second movie length that we're used to. So I thought the situation where Joe's character, Billy Lynn's perspective, you take a battling soldier experience and just move them directly, no transition or time, and to be celebrated in Dallas Stadium halftime show with Destiny's Child. I think that would freak them out. So I thought if I can put these two scenes together, I have a very exciting, not only new experience and excuse to use the new technology. When you first use it, you need excuse. In the future, you don't. I think it's a good justification how we bring soldiers' sensation, which is like 120 4K 3D, 28 foot length per second, bring that sensation to over-the-top performance and all the thankful civilians. I think that's a good experiment and a good way to carry out our first step.
Joe, this is your first film, as you said. What was the audition process like for you? How did you get the film, and what did it feel like when you were making this movie with Ang Lee, one of our masters?
Yeah, it came about very quickly in a very strange way. I was still at drama school in London at the time, and I was in my third year, and you do a showcase, and I signed with an agent early on in that year, and I put myself on tape for this thing and read a couple of scenes, and got a call that night saying that you wanted me to come to New York that weekend to read with him. And so I got on a plane a couple of days later, and went to New York and read through a bunch of scenes with Ang and Avi, the casting director. And then after that, there was just a series of tests and screen tests in Atlanta, and for about 10 days or so, I guess I was over there in total, and we ran through a lot of costume tests and makeup tests and a whole lot of scenes. And
this is before you knew you had the job?
Yeah. And so they were already doing like a screen test for the technology, and so I think they thought, let's just chuck Joe in and see how he deals with that. And so I went to Atlanta and did that, and then after about 10 days I got home, and the next night I got a call and I was in bed and I was told I got it.
And what made you cast, I don't want to say an unknown, that sounds derogatory, but a new actor for the role of Billy Lynn? What made you cast Joe rather than maybe like a very, very well-known actor at this moment? Joe, I'm sure you will become a well-known actor. I apologize.
Well, the well-known, you know whether they fit or not, so pretty quickly we know we want to look for new faces. I think there's something about the first-timer, the innocence, especially we go for true cinema, so to speak. So it was a very early decision. We go for the new faces. We just went through a sea of people, read aloud. And I'm so glad we saw that. Almost at the end, nearly deciding that we saw his tape. I think it was the first week you sang with a young agent. And here we go. I hope he think all the movie was shot this way.
I was going to jump in and just say that Joe does a brilliant American accent, and I worked with him for a week and had no idea he was not American. And then one day I heard him talk in his normal voice, and I said, "What are you talking like that for?"
Is that a true story?
Yes.
Pretty apparent is top-notch talent. I could smell that like 2 miles away. Yeah.
Chris, you know, you're primarily known, I think, a lot for comedy, a lot of the sort of humongous, amazing comedies that you did a while back. What's it like for you at this point to sort of be stepping outside of that and being a part of movies with Ang Lee and doing something a little bit different?
I mean, I love it working with one of the top directors in Hollywood. Everybody want to work with Ang, so I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know, because he just makes you look good, makes you look smarter. So and and it's just a great thing. And I bumped into Ang at the BAFTA Awards out in London. I think it was a year right after Life of Pi, and he won an Oscar and all this. So I went and congratulated him, and he said hello. He was very nice. And then I asked my agents, I said, what is Ang Lee doing? I want to do something with him. I met him in London at the BAFTA Awards. He said, well, he's doing a movie right now, and maybe you can get in it. So it's great. It was great working with him. It was really great. It was a good time.
And Kristen, what about you? You've started working with a lot of amazing directors, and like over the course of your career, you've always had great relationships with some of the most incredible directors. How did it start with Ang Lee?
Pretty traditionally. I mean, it was like I read a script that my agent sent, and I don't want to say the thing. I know he's sitting here, you know, so I'm like, I would say this if he wasn't sitting here. I would tip. I mean, most of the people that I'm like creatively drawn to, I'm very, very seldom let down by. Not let down as like in terms of like the result of the project or whatever, but just like in terms of like connection. I've very, very rarely loved somebody's work and been truly affected by it, and then not had that extend to like a personal level. I read the script. It's absolutely like I actually I was unfamiliar with the book, but I didn't even know initially that he was going to do crazy high frame rate, kooky camera work, whatever. I would have done it. What I'm getting at is I would have done anything with him because I think he makes, you know, some people just have incredibly unique perspectives, and his is like. So I would have done anything with him, but you know, the whole thing, all of it, the whole you know bowl of soup was just like who wouldn't want to be a part of that? It was really beautiful. So yeah, there you go.
I agree with the 100%, 100%. Steve, what about you? You know, you have this incredible career where it seems like you're somewhat selective in terms of the material that you.
No, I'm not selective at all. I'd like to correct that. Yeah.
But you don't seem like someone who necessarily wants to be in films all the time, or is sort of dying to get out there and act as much as you can. It seems slightly selective. Are you?
Well, let's put it this way: the people who hire me are selective, meaning they don't hire me very often. So, no, I wanted to be on board this project immediately as soon as I heard that Ang Lee was doing it. That it's, I didn't really know what it was about at first, because we met and he explained the 3D and the high def, and it just sounded fantastic. He said, this 3D, well, I think it'll apply to a drama, it'll put you right into the scene. So when I was there shooting, I never looked at dailies and almost never looked at playback. You have that, and one day I was passing, the TV screen, and they were playing back just a shot they'd just taken of me. So I saw my face, and I thought, it seems to look okay, 4K, that's fine, okay. And the guy said, put these glasses on. So I put the glasses on, and suddenly my face went like this. And I said, I'm not looking at this anymore. So I'm going to be surprised tonight at, say, how old I look, probably.
10 minutes into the movie, you're going to be the guy walking out with the glasses down. Ang, were there any stops and starts while you were shooting this, since you're sort of working with new technology here, since you're working with something that nobody else has done? Did you have times during the shoot where you had to kind of really stop and figure out the best way to apply it?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, constantly. And the shooting day is the most expensive day in the whole movie-making process. We shot pretty slowly, 6 to 8 setups, averagely, sometimes 2 shots, just to figure out, scratch your head. The scary part is not only the technical side, but something we've done for 100 years, you never think about it. Then one day, 3 weeks into the shooting, you realize, wait a minute, why do we do that? That doesn't look right for this media. What do I do from here? Where the AD was like,
so it's like essentially
under time pressure to figure out, especially the stadium. You have hundreds and hundreds of big stadium. The time pressure is tremendous. So other than technically, just as a filmmaker, there are times it just hits you. You're not good enough for the media. It was my wish. I kept saying the faces. In my career, sometimes I wish I could see them more clear, because in my eyes, in my heart, I know they have something better to offer, and the cameras or the screen don't, or the flicker don't allow that to happen. I know they have more to offer. I know they're better than that. And people kept saying, why do you keep doing it? I don't see the difference. Yeah, you don't see the difference, but I can see it. I wish I have a media which deserves those actors. So it's a lot of confusion. That's scary, and technically, it's a huge thing. But by the way, the huge camera and stuff, I think will get better. I began to talk to the manufacturers. Can you make it smaller? Can you make it more sensitive so we don't have to throw tons of lights, so they don't have to compensate and pretend so much? I think if the equipment or the technology is easier, it's a lot easier for them, and they have even more to offer.
Did you find yourself modifying sort of like the standard grammatical rules of cinema when you were shooting even sort of like interior scenes with 2 characters, where rather than having like a wide and a shot reverse shot, you realize that those don't necessarily look as visually interesting as they normally would with this camera?
I still do that, because that's all I know. Oh, we know, actually. I would like to invent and reinvent cinema altogether, but I cannot do over one movie. Plus, just simply, even do the simplest thing, it's a miracle. I think the movie is even watchable. There's so many things to catch up, to learn. I'm very proud of what will be shown tonight. I hope that people take it in well and give it a chance. I think it's a really great media. We would begin to get in touch with something. I think it's a new attitude to make and watch movies. I like to think it's a very positive thing, but it's very difficult at this point. And what everybody went through, and these people, they just put themselves out there to be watched and give and give and give and feel, and we get to see them.
Do you guys feel like with Aang on set, I mean, he's talking about how you as actors put yourselves out there and give and give and give. Is one of the important things of someone like Aang is that he's extremely, do you feel protected by him when you're on set and he's directing? Do you feel like what you're giving, he's sort of taking in the right way, for lack of a better way to describe that question?
Oh, definitely,
Whoever wants.
definitely. He told me plenty of times, no, we don't want any rush hour stuff. We want, not that, Chris, no. And that's when I knew he was really he had my back, because, you know, it was a different tone, it was a different movie. And that's when you work with great directors, that's what they do. They'll tell you what you need to do. And they bring in other great actors, and working with one of the legends, Steve Martin, was the funnest. I was a groupie during the whole film, and I keep calling him Mr. Martin. He says, stop, call me Steve, stop, call me Steve. But he's, you know,
I prefer Mr. Martin.
That was some of the funnest scenes, me and him, and in the movie. I had a good time. Had a real good time.
Kristen, you have like I think 26 films in the New York Film Festival this year. No, like 4 maybe, like 3 or 4. Has it been an extremely busy time for you the past year or two since you've been shooting and touring with these movies?
Like only while the festival was going on, you know. Yeah, we went to. Yeah, we went to. I went to one other festival with Personal Shopper, but other than that, and I guess actually with certain women too. But no, it's funny, these tiny, with the small ones, you have like just like super narrow little windows to have nice, you know, totally up your own ass esoteric conversations at New York Film Festival, which is amazing because the only people that come here really love movies. And oh man, it was really fun. I've been really lucky. I can't wait to do it with this one because it's like so much more to chew on. It's and I haven't even seen it yet. So and I can say, just speaking of like the thing that you just said, he does not let you there's not one split second of, I don't want to say dishonesty, like I'm trying to convince someone of something that's untrue, but if there's one moment that you fall, or one second of inconsistency that's maybe, you know, as an actor you fill in blanks, you try and control things, or you try and deliver something to someone or something, because that's kind of like how you're accustomed to making people happy or satisfying a director, or when you're not 100% feeling something, or like in a moment with another, you can kind of, especially as somebody who's like done a ton of movies, you just kind of like pick up the slack in this lazy way. Absolutely impossible. Like absolutely, like not for 1 second, and nor will he be okay with like cutting around that. It's like, I've never felt more visible or seen, which is like, and it speaks to not just how he's photographing things, but the way he sees things, which is why he's photographing things the way he is. Like, honestly, there were times like we did, on a couple of things, we did 3 takes, and we were both like, we just went away being like shaking. And then, you know, and I was like, oh, maybe that's how Aang works. It's like lightning in a bottle. You know, whatever you get, it's authentic. It's what it is. But then we were in his bedroom, and we did 35 takes of my close-up, and I was like, I'm completely messing everything up. Oh, my God. I was like, obviously, we're doing it 35 times. There's no way that I'm not, there has to be something that's not, I'm not here right now. And I don't believe that we would have ever moved on unless all of a sudden he went, okay, I believed you. And I think, yeah, it doesn't only speak to his eye. It definitely is the camera and his eye and the combination of the two and why he's working with it and blah, blah, blah. But it was like with the least expectation and like the most encouragement and faith. It was so cool. He's like zen as hell as well, which is weird because it's not like, I usually work on nerves and stuff, like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. And he's like, don't fake it. Like, you don't need the nerves. You need to just calm down. It's like, oh man, okay, well, I just be a little bit more like you. So yeah, it was awesome.
Joe, what was that like for you? I mean, it sounds like a somewhat a worthy but also exhausting process. Was it nerve-wracking for you, this being your first movie and having someone who's sort of so tuned into emotional truth?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the first few weeks. It was just...
Why are you talking so funny?
It was overwhelming, coming into an environment that I'd never been in before with people that I knew of. Well, I can't remember what you said now.
Sorry, I ruined your
Yes, yeah, it was. The first few weeks, like as it went on, I relaxed more into it. But of course, like I mean, I'd never been to America before, let alone made a movie before, so it was all a new experience. But at the same time, I was doing it with a bunch of people who were very experienced and incredibly supportive and generous, and a lot of fun. Like it was hard. It was the hardest thing I've done, but it was a lot of fun. And also because it was so intense, because Billy's in every scene, from first thing in the morning to last thing at night, as tiring as that was, it kind of didn't allow any rest. You just had to jump in the next day. You were going to be picked up the next day, and you had to do it. I didn't have any choice. So it was tough, but rewarding, and Ang is Ang.
I think I have to open it up to the audience for questions. First question.
Hi, everybody. So is there anything that you guys learned while on set that you're going to take to a future project or just in life in general?
I don't have any future projects, so I don't have an answer.
Very selective.
I want to keep exploring this media. I want to chase it. I want to learn. I want to somehow urge the industry to pick up so it's easier for us. I would like to see this thing take off. And I'm a dramatically trained guy. My heart is always with drama, human stories. I keep pursuing that. But now I have the new tools. I want to do more.
I'd answer it seriously. It makes me more alert to projects that are worthy. Having done this one and feeling like you're in something important and working with great actors and a great director with a great idea, it certainly makes me want to do more like this rather than more ordinary films.
And me too. I think this is the future, and Ang is ahead of the curve, and it's good to be in something that's the future and ahead of the curve. So I'm excited.
Joe, what about you? This being your first big project.
Yeah, I was spoilt with it. I mean, it doesn't normally happen.
No, it was really hard. It'll get easy. All the other stuff's so much easier.
No, but I was
like, no, you know what I mean. Like, I'm just.
Yeah,
you're right. So I'm just saying.
But I mean, had it been at any stage in my career to like work with someone like Ang, let alone be a lead in this film, is ridiculous. And it has made me a lot more alert to stuff that I've read since. And I feel like I get like a pretty strong gut reaction to things when I read them, and I know if I like them or not. But I've been lucky to start where I've started with someone like Ang and this film and these people. It's been lucky, and yeah.
Kristen, was this one of the harder projects for you? You just said it gets easier after this, or did you just mean after your first project it gets easier?
Oh, no, I just meant that this is like, it's the most exposed that he'll probably feel for a long time unless Ang hires him on his next movie. It's genuinely, there's a vast difference between like, I mean, it's like what you strive for sure. Like whenever you make a movie, you want to be like the most like, seen as you possibly can and like not fill in those blanks that I was talking about. But this was just all on him every day, everything. I mean, it's through his eyes always. So like, I was just, it's funny because I worked on it for what, like a few days, literally. Like I had a couple days of shooting. Yeah, I was there for a few weeks, but like the primary like portion of the work was like, the days that I was stressed in were like 3. And I was like commiserating with him as if to get like, not reassurance, like actors are pretty precious, embarrassingly enough, but like, I was like, oh God, what do you think? I'm not sure. Oh, I don't know. And like, that doesn't typically happen. Like, usually you're just sure of something. And like, it's a great place to be like super unsure. And I just mean to say that easy is not better, but spoiled, I totally feel you, because this was what you want to get to, which is being terrified. And being like precarious, and because that's human, because that's what you want to watch. I don't want to see some construction delivered to me by an actor who has a million reasons that they want to make you feel a certain way. It's like self-serving and whatever. This is just the least self-serving thing. It was impossible to be that way, and so many actors are that way. And I was just saying, like, it only gets easier, as in, like, you can hide, not that you want to, but there's just, like, by nature of the other way of making movies, like, you do kind of, like, have more of a veneer, which also, by the way, I'm into, too. Like, you fill in those little black flickers, your imagination, like, you project onto those black frames you can watch, you're directing half the movie. And that's something else. But this is like something so down your throat. And it's just like, it's cool.
Next question.
Hey everyone, congrats. What was the funniest story Steve Martin told on set?
First of all, I didn't speak to anyone. I'm not especially funny on the set. I don't, and...
No, all great comedians I know of, they're all like this the whole time.
We're looking for
Never
jokes.
crack joke, you cannot make them laugh.
We had a good time. Chris and we talked about comedy.
Oh, yeah.
I asked you what your opening line was, because I'm always interested in what somebody's opening line is.
Oh, yeah. I was picking his brain and all my favorite movies that he's done, and so I was having a good time. I was a groupie on the set, basically.
Well, you released a new stand-up special not that long ago. Your first in quite a long time, right?
Yes.
Where were you in terms of developing your stand-up material while you were shooting this movie?
Well, I had already shot the movie, and
Okay.
it's on Netflix. It was released on Netflix, but so yeah. But I'm always on the road, traveling and stuff, and that was one of the reasons why I was interested in this movie, because I bumped into a lot of the soldiers on the road in the airports coming home from different places, and I just connected with them. I was like, these guys are risking their lives for me and other Americans, and I said I wanted to do this movie because I really felt these guys. And I remember one time I offered a guy my seat in first class. He had one leg, and he sent me. I told the stewardess to go back and tell him. He came back and he sent me a note. Well, she came back with a note and said, "No, I know you're tired. I know you're getting ready to go do your show because we had talked before that. You stay. You stay there. I'm fine." And I was like, man, this guy, risking his life, constantly, and he wouldn't even take advantage of taking that seat. And that really touched me, and I still got that note, that letter to this day. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this movie, because I said, I knew it was dealing with soldier stories.
That's one thing we haven't talked about is the topic of the movie, which is
I've realized that at some point.
Extremely important and a very poignant and serious and complex and emotional. So, thanks for bringing it up. None of us thought to.
So caught up in the technology. Next question.
Hi, thank you all for coming. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. Actually, I have two questions. My first one is open to everyone. What message do you hope that the viewers get from watching the movie? And my second question is, being that it's a Friday, and you came on a Friday, Mr. Tucker, are you going to make another Friday, or cross the fingers?
I don't know. Call Warner Brothers. New line.
What do you guys hope that people take from the movie in regards to the soldiers' journey in this country during the Iraq War?
Understanding soldier as human beings. I think we admire them, we thank them. But since we don't have the draft, they become isolated into one group. It's hard to understand what they went through, and every war is pretty specific. Just some more understanding. That's what we try to do here as human beings, what they went through. As I was hoping. Sympathy and understanding for those young men and women that went through war, to that situation.
Joe, what did you learn from doing any research about soldiers in the Iraq War, and that you hope you sort of impart to audience members that see the movie?
Well, we did 2 weeks boot camp in Atlanta before, and that was run by people who had served, and they were incredibly generous in the way they spoke to us and told us about their own experiences and what they'd gone through. And it was just very, very eye-opening to hear them speak, and like Ang says, humanizing. And hopefully that's in the film. And as much as it's in this bigger political framework and it's about the war, it's a very human, intimate story. A quiet, intimate human story and a coming-of-age story, and it's grounded in something very human, which I hope comes across.
Kristen, what about you? You play the family member of someone who comes home from war, which is no small feat and something that people have to grapple with every day right now. What kind of research did you do, or what did you hope to communicate to audiences? Really? I know. I finally ask about the topic of the movie, and you kill it with a phone call.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just for anyone who didn't hear that, there was a phone. I wasn't like, why are you asking me that? It's really inappropriate.
I was hoping that was the case.
Yeah. Well, I play one of few people in the movie I sort of do function as hopefully not overbearing in any way, but function as this sort of mouthpiece for the alternative perspective that, as proud of her brother as she can be as a human being, that if you're not necessarily making your own choices in an entirely informed way, then that pride is going to get confused, and she's an older sister, and she's protective, and she's nonviolent. And, I think that she feels completely out of control, which is also something that I think that we can all completely relate to, and vocalizes it fervently and in a way that it is still, like they said, like is so human. I mean, 100%, like, she's opinionated and she's very political and she's researched and but at the same time it's still all, none of this would be unless you were motivated by something, unless you were motivated by a seriously, like, beating heart, which it just doesn't matter like what side you're on in terms of whether or not you thought that was a good idea. It's all motivated by this. I didn't really have to do much research. The script was written, I mean, it's like written so beautifully. To have those words put in my mouth, I was so grateful for, because it wasn't difficult to own them.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I have to let you go. The movie comes out in November, right? It's in theaters in November. It's screening this weekend at the New York Film Festival.
Oh, in different formats.
What?
Very important, in different formats.
Yes.
It was shot that way. Tonight it'll be showing that way. But we have very different format that I recreate for each format.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it on my phone.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.